Chapter 17. I'm more than what's on my record. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I walked into the bank with a folder of carefully prepared documents. I'd been working toward this day for months, building up my savings, paying down my debts, making sure my credit score finally peaked above the line I'd been chasing for years. I knew exactly which account I wanted to open. I knew it would help me secure the small business loan I'd been dreaming about. The banker greeted me with a kind of polite smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. She scanned my driver's license, typed my name into her computer, and within seconds, I saw it happen. The micro shift in her expression, so subtle most people wouldn't notice. But I did. I've been reading those shifts my whole life. Her smile stayed in place, but the warmth behind it drained away. Her voice became formal, rehearsed. Unfortunately, mister, I'm afraid we're not able to move forward with this account type for you at this time. That phrase, at this time, should have been a comfort, but it wasn't. We both knew what it meant. I asked why, even though I already knew. And then came the line I could recite in my sleep, based on information that came up in our background review. And there it was, the invisible stamp burned into my life, the record, the thing that doesn't care that I've rebuilt, that I've fought tooth and nail for a different life, that I've been clean, responsible, and consistent for years. I walked out of the bank that day with the same folder I walked in with, except now it felt heavier. Not from the paper inside it, but from the reminder that to the world, no matter what I do, I will always have to drag my past behind me. The weight of that reality isn't just in the moments you're told no. It's in the way you start hesitating before you even try. You stop yourself from applying. You delete the form halfway through. You tell yourself you'll wait until you're more ready, even though you're ready right now. That's the part nobody talks about. The way society's judgment seeps into your own mind until you become your own gatekeeper. You think you're protecting yourself from rejection, but you're really keeping yourself from opportunities you might have actually gotten. I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in friends. That slow shrinking of dreams until you only reach for the things you're sure you can have. The safe jobs, the housing options that are good enough, the relationships where you never quite let them know the full truth, because if they did, maybe they'd pull away. It's survival, but it's also self-erasure. One time, I was standing in the aisle of a grocery store with a friend when he mentioned he was applying for a warehouse job. He said it with this casual tone, like it was no big deal. But I saw the flicker in his eyes, the unspoken, I hope they don't look too deep. We both knew the truth. It didn't matter how strong he was, how much overtime he was willing to work, or how clean his record had been in recent years. If that background check hit the wrong note, the offer would disappear like smoke. So when the call came 2 weeks later, and he just shrugged, they went with someone else, we both knew what really happened. But we didn't talk about it, because after a while, you stop saying it out loud. You just absorb it and move on. Except you never really move on. You carry it with you like an invisible bruise. That bruise shapes the way you carry yourself. It's in the hesitation before you shake someone's hand. It's in the way you rehearse answers in your head before someone even asks. It's in the way you sit at the edge of opportunities, unsure if you should even step forward. The record isn't just paperwork. It's a shadow, one that stretches further than you expect. But Here's what I've come to learn. Shadows only exist where there's light. I've thought a lot about what it means to live with something that keeps being brought up against you. And the truth is, there's a strange kind of power in owning it before they can use it to define you. I learned this the hard way. There was a speaking event I was invited to, a panel on second chances in the workforce. The organizer called me beforehand and asked if I'd be comfortable sharing my personal background. I knew what she meant. She meant the record. I told her, yes, but I'm not going to share it like a confession. I'm going to share it like a credential. And that's exactly what I did. I stood on that stage and told the audience, my record isn't the reason I can't contribute. It's the reason I have something valuable to contribute. It felt like flipping the script in real time. I wasn't just telling my story, I was taking ownership of it in a way that made it impossible for someone else to weaponize it against me. That's not easy. It's vulnerable. It's risky. But it's also the only way I've found to keep my head above the tide of judgment that comes with having a past that's public in all the wrong ways. Here's the thing no one prepares you for. You can be doing everything right for years, holding down a job, paying your bills, staying out of trouble, and still feel like you're living on probation. Not because the court says so, but because the world does. Every form you fill out that asks, have you ever been convicted of a crime? Every new acquaintance who casually says, let's look you up on Google. Every time you wonder whether to volunteer information or let them find out on their own. It's exhausting, and it wears on you in ways that aren't visible to anyone else. What I eventually realized is that if I waited for the world to stop defining me by my record, I'd be waiting forever. So I had to stop waiting. I had to start defining myself so clearly that their definition didn't matter as much. I had to start building a life so visible, so present, so undeniable, that my past became a footnote instead of the headline. I had to start showing up in spaces where people didn't expect me, not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right. Because here's the truth. The record is not the end of your story unless you stop writing it. I started noticing something strange over the years. Whenever I stopped fighting so hard to prove myself, people seemed to notice my worth more. It wasn't that I was hiding my record or ignoring my past. It was that I stopped making my whole life a counter-argument to someone else's assumption. I stopped walking into rooms already on defense. That shift was subtle but powerful. Instead of leading with my guilt, I started leading with my presence. And here's the secret. People respond to the energy you carry more than the papers you hand them. If you walk in apologizing for yourself, even silently, they'll believe you're someone who needs to be pitied or dismissed. But if you walk in grounded, honest, and unapologetically present, they may still see your past, but they'll also see your strength. That's the difference between being trapped by your record and transcending it. One of the most important moments in my journey happened in a place I didn't expect, at a job I almost didn't take. It was a position I thought was beneath me, the kind of work I'd sworn I'd never do again. But something in me said, take it, show up, see where it goes, and in the months that followed, I ended up being promoted twice. Not because I was the smartest person there or had the flashiest credentials, but because I was the most consistent. I showed up early, stayed late when it mattered, and didn't treat small tasks like they were beneath me. My record never even came up until after they'd already decided I was an asset. By then, it didn't matter. I'd proven my value in real time, not on paper. That experience taught me something crucial. You can't always control the filter people see you through, but you can control how undeniable you make your contributions. You can become so effective, so reliable, so impactful that your past stops being the first thing on their mind. Still, I won't pretend the world suddenly becomes fair just because you work hard. It doesn't. There will always be people and systems that cling to your past like it's a permanent headline. And there will be moments when you'll feel like you're doing everything right and still running into brick walls. The trick is to stop letting those walls convince you to stop moving. Sometimes you'll have to find a side door, a window, or even build your own entrance altogether. I've seen people create entire careers without ever asking for permission from the systems that once rejected them. They learned skills, started small businesses, partnered with people who believed in them. They built reputations outside the circles that would have never let them in. And eventually, those same circles came knocking because results have a way of erasing resistance. It's strange to say, but your record can make you resourceful. It forces you to find paths others never consider. It teaches you how to navigate without a map, how to create opportunities from scraps, and how to keep moving even when the door slams in your face. Those skills aren't just survival skills. They're the very traits that build resilience, leadership, and vision. I remember a conversation with someone who said, "I feel like my record is a prison I'll never leave." And I told them, "You're only stuck if you keep treating it like a cell instead of a story. A cell traps you. A story moves you forward. One is closed. The other is always evolving." If you can start seeing your past as a story you're still writing, you'll stop waiting for the world to turn the page for you. You'll turn it yourself. The truth is, being more than your record isn't about erasing what's there. It's about building so much life beyond it that it naturally fades into the background. People will always find out eventually, but if they do, let them find out after they've already seen you in motion, already witnessed the kind of person you are now. That way, the record becomes a piece of context, not a full definition. And maybe that's the real lesson here. You are not your rap sheet. You are your rebuild. Because when the world sees your record as proof of what you broke, you can choose to live as proof of what you built. And the story? It's still being written.